Okay, connecting. And I am not sure if anyone has arrived. Can we see who's online?
Yeah, so if you click participants at the bottom and go to attendees, Lindsay de Burke is there, Rosebery Dewar. There's a few people now coming on.
We're up to 10 attendees. Hi, everyone.
Hello, everybody. So just so everyone knows, there is a chat bar in Zoom, and you can just send a message to us throughout the talk. And we'll have a Q&A at the end, but if you want to send your questions as you have them, we can deal with them at the end as well, or we'll deal with them as we go along as well. So if everybody, as you join, if you just want to say hello, just so we know that you're there, I'll just send a message to you now. Hi, Rosie.
How are you?
Everyone is shy.
Brian, you have to send it to all attendees. You just send it to all panelists.
Hi, Ray and Angela. Hope all is well in London, Angela. Hi, Eamon. And David, hi.
Yeah, so there's still some people coming on.
Great. So hi, studio. We're not sure who in studio, but hi there. Eliza, Suzanne.
Great. Okay, well, look, we'll get cracking. We'll try and keep it to about an hour. So firstly, thanks everyone for joining. I know it's a crazy time for everyone and a very strange time because none of us really know what's going to happen next. And it's quite dragged out much more than we thought. There's a couple of interesting things about this time, and that is that obviously from a business point of view, things have really slowed. That the normal day-to-day of dealing with customers really has slowed. And one of the things we'll be kind of looking for people to do is focus on the thinking that they need to have been doing that have been too busy to do. So things around new product development and innovation, things around customer planning and export market development and things like that, to put some research and time into things that you perhaps wouldn't have got time to do up to now. So this presentation is just a really quick run through some of the export projects that we do with clients. Many of you on the call who I know I've seen on the list of attendees have worked with us before, and then there's many people on the call who haven't. So for those who know about these things, apologies, but we're just going to bring everybody up to speed on it. On the call today, we have Nicola Dorn and myself, Brian McGee. We work together on the export projects at DCCI and on Showcase. So we'll just run through very quickly our presentation. And now, here we go. So I suppose the purpose of today, as I just discussed about, the format's going to be a PowerPoint. We're going to talk a bit about our strategy, our export program, and have Q&A at the end. So just before we get started, everybody should know that DCCI has an FAQ document. And that is developing every day as more and more information comes in. But if makers have any questions in general about COVID-19, including things about government supports, about welfare issues or whatever, it's all in this FAQ document. It's at that link there. It's a pretty long link, but if you just go onto the main page, you'll see how to click through to that. Okay. So the other thing is then, the things we're going to talk to you today are really based around the DCCI strategy, which was 2017 to 2020, which is published online. It's at dcci.ie/media/publications. And I encourage everyone to download that. We're actually in the process of doing our next strategic plan. And I would say, please, if you have thoughts on that, please feel free to write in and give us your suggestions on it. There will be a whole process going through over the next 12 months, or sorry, 6 months in 2020 to complete that for 2021. The strategy area we're looking at here is collaborating with strategic partners and raising awareness, driving demand by investing in export, online and domestic markets, and promoting Irish designers and makers in domestic and international markets. So the export program that we run at DCCI has a number of key parts, and it Showcase is the biggest one, and many of you export at Showcase. IFF, which is International Fair Fund, US Advantage, trade fairs, and then also we work closely with Enterprise Ireland in all markets. So Nicola, do you want to just talk us through some of the stuff here on the next slide?
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose Showcase in particular would be for many of our clients the first exposure to the export market. We have about 1,000 retail buyers from a variety of different countries. We work incredibly closely with all of the Enterprise Ireland international offices in trying to develop, I suppose, visitors that will be a good fit for the show and for our exhibitors at the show. So it's a vital part of our export program and our export year. In terms of the most important countries, in terms of buyers coming to Showcase, it tends to be the US, the UK, less so since Brexit, but certainly still the UK, Germany, France, Benelux, Japan has become quite strong, and then 18 other smaller countries in varying kind of levels of importance. At Showcase every year, then obviously we have a variety of activities, but one of the things we've started to do is develop films that give buyers and visitors a snapshot of the creativity and the products that are coming out of Ireland, and how that they, in a lifestyle and a fashion environment, can fit with their outlets and their shops. So this has been a really effective way for us to get a message across about what's happening in Ireland and let people understand how mainstream, how contemporary, what good quality there is, what variety there is, and the reaction has been incredible. So looking at it there, we've done a couple of different previews and showcases of Showcase internationally. So we did Tokyo last year, Brian went out, and it coincided with a ministerial trade mission in partnership again with Enterprise Ireland. The main objective was to attract more quality buyers to Showcase. The Japanese are an incredibly strong category of buyers, particularly for our textile clients. And we want to grow that out as much as possible. And we are seeing improvements. For example, I know quite a few of the candle makers.
It was a 22% increase in buyers from Japan this year at Showcase. So, and we hope to, our goal is really to double it. They are, you know, the one thing about Japanese customers is that they really understand quality, and price is less of an issue for them, which is always a good thing when it comes to Irish made goods.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you want to finish that slide, Brian?
Yeah, well, just on that then, we also took part in this very famous project called the Tweed Run, which was basically sponsored by Irish Tweed. And as you can see, there was a lot of Japanese people dressed up in lovely tweed clothes. Very, very interesting event. The man there in that shot is the founder of a company called United Arrows, which is, to describe it as a luxury shop is just unbelievable. They are really, really super high-end, amazing retailer, and great purchaser of goods from Europe actually, and very keen to buy more tweed and other products from Ireland. And then also Showcase touched down in New York to give a preview of Showcase, and again this was done with the help of Enterprise Ireland and the Department of Foreign Affairs. And I will say, you know, if we didn't have people in the markets overseas, such as DFAT and EI, we wouldn't be able to run these projects because, you know, it's too complicated to try to run events up from very far away. But in this case, Bank of Ireland came in as a major sponsor for the event, which effectively paid for the whole thing, which was really, really brilliant and great. Hats off to Bank of Ireland for that. And then this is the film that was made at Showcase, and anyone who was at Showcase this year will have seen it. It was produced again by a director, a famous director from Ireland called Boo George. I'll just give you a little snip of it here. So you can see there what we're trying to do with that film, and is really to try and get. I saw Eamon from Kristen Arena is there on the call. Eamon's lovely glassware or jewelry, you know, Hannah hats, or you know, Studio Donegal weaving. So to try and get the product in a lifestyle setting for the international buyer, and you know, it's a very challenging thing for us to do, to try to get buyers to come to Ireland, and things like this film really help to promote the show and to get people aware of Ireland and Irish made goods. So in terms of showcase, that's that. Then we also have a project called the International Fair Fund. Nicola, do you want to just talk us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been doing International Fair Fund for a couple of years now. The real reason for it is that for an awful lot of clients, making that jump to their first or second time doing a trade fair abroad comes with its risks. So there's financial support available there to help you to exhibit at an international trade fair. The main priority and focus is to increase export sales and to develop better ties in international market, to bed yourself into that market essentially. And the Fair Fund is there, I suppose. Initially, we wouldn't have had an awful lot of funding in the area. It was incredibly competitive and difficult to get funding. Thankfully now in more latter years, we do have a lot more export funding available. And it's been really vital in terms of helping clients to get to markets that they mightn't reach alone, or they're a little bit unsure about risk-wise, because the reality is for all of us, when we do a show abroad, year one, it's really about exposure and starting to make connections. The sales really don't come until year 2, year 3. We always say try and give a show at least three outings. So to give you an idea, last year in 2019, there were 32 clients that were awarded funding under the fund. Obviously, all those claims are still coming in. To date, we have about €240,000 worth of international sales specifically attributed to those events. And yet we still have about 12 clients who, for whatever reason, have still to submit their information. So we'd be expecting that figure to probably double. And what's interesting about it from our point of view is that not only do we see the sales that happen at the show as being vital, but when we talk to people 3, 6, 9 months after the show, nowadays, because of the nature of selling and the nature of the industry, it can take that long and longer to secure a sale. So those sales, while we're seeing the numbers now, they do increase as the time goes by, further and further out from each of the shows. To give
one
you
of the things about this as well, obviously, is that trade fairs, and we'll get to it at the end of the session, but trade fairs now are going through a very strange time. First of all, obviously, we've all felt that the number of buyers attending trade fairs has been falling internationally, across the board. And now we have COVID, which has really led to pretty much all second quarter and some of first quarter shows being cancelled, and many of third quarter shows being cancelled. And I'm sure for all of you that's an issue, because these are things that you may have been planning. So we'll talk a bit about that afterwards. But the thing about IFF to note is that it's there, it's available. If you have a show that you'd like to take part in, let us know. It's a very simple application process. We select twice a year for that. Enterprise Ireland have been increasing our level of funding for this. So we have been able to support more and more businesses to travel overseas. And we have budget. If you want to do a show, let us know.
The other thing just on that, Brian, we had a call out, we've extended it for International Fair Fund just to give people a time to rethink about, obviously we appreciate COVID has changed everybody's viewpoint of the next year to 2 years ahead. So for that reason, I know people are thinking, should I be doing export? You know, what were my plans? Will I continue with those plans? For people who had applied perhaps for fairs that have been cancelled or postponed or may yet be cancelled or postponed, the system is simple. If you've already applied, just drop me an email and tell me what fair you'd like to switch that application to. Or if you want to pull it back and not apply, that's fine also. But secondly, if there's additional shows that you can see coming down the line in the next 12 months that you want to focus on and put out there as an ambition, make sure to get the application in. It's open until the 15th of April. But give me a call or an email if you want to discuss it in detail. So the next one we have then is the US Advantage program. And this is a relatively new program. We just piloted it last year. It's not for everyone, but it is a very, I suppose, a great opportunity if you're already exporting in the US market and you want to increase your market share, your market presence. It's very much focused on being in the market. So obviously with COVID-19, there's been a big revisit of that, and we're looking and working with all of the participants who are on it to see what their plans are and how we can work with them. The idea behind it is that you have to have a strong export strategy and an export plan in place, that you've experience selling in the market and capacity to handle any sales in this market, and that you've the internal skills, human resources, etc. available. Within it, the supports are quite good. There's an in-depth analysis of your business and your export strategy. And if you need any help or assistance or mentoring, then we put that in place. And then there's very tailored one-to-one mentoring with an industry expert. And this is the bit, I think, from talking to those that are in the program at the moment, this is where the real advantage lies, of getting one-to-one time with somebody who's already out there selling all the time into this market. They're finding that a very effective way to, I suppose, settle themselves into the market and understand what is possible for their business. And then there's financial supports to help with trips and shows. Now, obviously at the moment, that's on hold for everybody. But in actual fact, from talking to many of the people who are on the program, and there's only about 5 each year that come on that program, but what they're finding is that this is time when they're going to spend some additional time doing extra research, doing a little bit more in-depth study on where they want to be and what the potential is, because I suppose there is definitely a sense that, okay, if we can't be out there in the market now, then we have to prepare for hitting the ground when the markets are back in action post-COVID-19.
That's the thing about this project, US Advantage, is that it's very much geared towards businesses who are, I suppose, ready to start the export journey in a serious way in the United States. There may be people on the call who feel that they're approaching that. We would definitely like to talk to you. There's a pretty tough diagnostic process you'll have to go through with our consultant and ourselves to see the extent to which you're ready. But if you do feel that you're ready, this will really help you start to get your thinking right in terms of how to target the US market and how to build your customer base. It's definitely a multi-year journey. You'll get shoulder-to-shoulder support from us for the first 12 months. And it's really working for 1 or 2 businesses who've already started. We have quite a number of businesses on in the research stage of this. And there's a lot of work involved in the research to prepare yourself, but it's actually very, very good grounding in terms of how to develop your market. And the example I would give to anyone would be, if you look at the Irish market and you see how much business that you do in the Irish market, And then you think about a region in the United States, such as the Northeast, which is about 20 times bigger than the Irish market. You'll get a kind of a gist for how you can approach it and the range of different retailers that are out there and available for you to contact. Retailers and other types of buyers, because you may be in the gallery market, or you may be selling high end or whatever. So it's not just about the retail market. Then Nicola, international trade fairs.
Yeah, so we do a couple of international trade fairs each year under the Design Ireland umbrella. Our plans for this year had been our Maison et Objet in Paris, which we did in January. It was a great show. We shall see now in terms of COVID-19 what impact that has had. We had intended to do MSA Forward in, actually, sorry, not in San Diego, it was in Cleveland, in conjunction with Enterprise Ireland. This show obviously has been cancelled. It was due to happen in April. And then the next one on our horizon was Shop Object in New York, which is scheduled for the 8th to the 10th of August. But obviously this is under review. New York is taking quite a hammering, and it's too hard to tell at this point what their timeline is going to be. The organisers are currently saying that the show will go ahead, but they are reviewing it literally day by day. So we'll wait and see how that pans out. With all of the international trade fairs, we use Design Ireland as the vehicle for these. It's like bringing a little capsule of what we do at Showcase abroad and presenting it. We're stronger together than apart. So having everybody under that Irish umbrella works really well for exhibitors. And it allows us to get a stronger marketing message across pre-show and post-show. So it's been very effective.
So then, you know, in terms of the many brands that work, I mean, I think there are currently, for example, for International Fair Fund, 41 brands involved with applications, not with applications, with approved funding for international fairs. This is just an example of some of the brands that we've worked with across a range of categories. And, you know, we call them best practice, but they really do have a very good approach to how they're going about their export development. And it brings us on to another thing around peer learning. And, you know, if anyone on the call is interested in talking to somebody, ourselves or another maker, will you just get in touch, because we can really place and put people together in terms of sharing information, because we find that has been very useful in terms of developing learning. I think, Nicola, would you agree?
Absolutely. I think one of the nicest things about this sector is how accommodating makers are with each other in terms of giving advice. And I think looking at that list, even thinking about it, I think all of those people have had chats with other makers. So I know for a fact they'll be happy to talk with anyone that's interested. And then obviously myself and Brian are always available.
So before we move into your own questions that you send in to us, we have sort of anticipated a few FAQs, and I suppose one of the big ones really is around what's happening right now, which is that as would happen with, say, Ceramic Art London, it cancelled. It was supposed to run on the 20th of March. People had paid in full. They paid for their stand, they paid for the stand build, and in some cases they paid for travel. The show is now well, in that case it's cancelled, but other shows are postponed. And then you may already be committed to a show in Q3, Q2 or Q3 or Q4, and you want to know about that. So if you want to just fire up your questions in relation to shows, we'll try to answer those as we're going through. Nicola, do you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I know from talking to a variety of people over the last 2 weeks, really, one of the big questions around cancellations of shows is, you know, what happens? You know, do I have to wait for an organizer to cancel? Can I cancel myself? What do I have to pay in full if I cancel? There's a lot of detail there. I think the rule of thumb, certainly from what we're seeing, is that if an organizer cancels, it's very much dependent on your own contract with them, but by and large, most of them seem to be charging 50% of the stand costs. If, on the other hand, you decide, you know, I don't feel comfortable traveling over the next while, I'm going to cancel, then all bets are off. You may be obliged to pay the full amount. It really depends on what your contract with them is. So make sure that before you make any decisions on anything, have a really good read of your contract and maybe talk to them. Some organisers are more willing to discuss than others, particularly when they're thinking about how they're going to manage next year. So I would always say on all of this, as you would with your buyers, pick up the phone and have a chat with them. Make sure that they understand your position, and that if you're interested in showing again next year, try and do some sort of a deal that maybe they give you credit for the show or the year afterwards. It's always worth having that chat.
And don't forget, you can get in touch with us at any stage, as would say the makers from Cal have done, because we can help as well in that regard in getting in touch with people for you and on behalf of a number of makers. The other thing I would say is that we are speaking to the Department of Business to see if there's some way that we can help people who do get into a bit of a jam in this way. And we don't have word on that yet, but we're hoping to get word on that this week to see if we can help. Okay. The other big thing that seems to be happening, or has happened, is that people wrote orders at the shows in Q1, that be Showcase or other shows like Maison or any other show. And then the orders are written, and they've either shipped the order and the order is in transit or has arrived. They might be awaiting payment, or else the order is there to be shipped. It could be that the buyer has said that they can't pay for the order. They may have said, don't send the order, or maybe they can't get in touch with the buyer. They can't even reach the buyer. So there is quite a lot of issues there for people in this area. Again, please free to get in touch with us. In general, I think you must expect that all orders will be put on hold until the crisis is over. I will say that the crisis will not last forever, and the orders will be in demand as soon as those stores open. So while it seems like a big challenge right now, and I'm sure it is, please be aware that, you know, as soon as the stores are allowed to open, they will open, and they will need stock, and they'll want to get their shipments. So I think it's important to be ready for that as well. Nicola, did you have any other questions that you'd had from people? That kind of captures it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, it pretty much captures it all. I mean, I think the main thing is that try to get in touch, try to chat to them. We're seeing a variety of different reactions from different buyers in terms of, you know, whether they want to receive shipments, don't want to receive shipments, whether they're in a position to pay or part pay. It really does boil down to your relationship with them and making sure that you get in touch and you work with them. They're in the same boat as you guys. They're feeling just as uncertain and worried about everything as we all are. So it is a case of just trying to make sure that you keep the channels open and the communication two-way, so that when things do get good again, and they will, that you have a good relationship with them, that they feel that you supported them when they needed it, and that you can keep that relationship that you'd invested so much in developing in the first place, that you can keep it good throughout this to make sure that it evolves and that you can pick up where you left off, I suppose.
Yeah, that's really important to say that, you know, the way most retailers work is that the money that they take in the till today, they use to buy stock from you. And if they don't have money coming into the till, many of them aren't sitting on large amounts of cash freely available, and they're very much under pressure from a cash point of view. That said, if you are under huge pressure, you have to tell them, and you have to basically look for part payment, look for something to cover any shipments that you've made to a retailer. It's really important that they don't think that, obviously you support them, but they don't think that you're kind of a soft touch. And that's really, especially when it comes to the bigger ones. I think if you're looking at, you know, some of the larger chains in Ireland, I mean, I would absolutely, definitely be looking for payment. And especially if they want you to sell with them online or to continue to support their business, I think you need to get support from them, because it's going to be a difficult couple of months for everybody. We have a question from Ray Power, as a comment really, that he's finding delays in customs going to USA. Absolutely. Ray, thanks for that. The border issue is going to be a real big problem for everybody. And I know it's funny, people were saying, oh, look, there's going to be great opportunity in online selling in the next couple of months. And I would just caution that by saying, perhaps not really. I mean, perhaps a bit of business around Ireland won't be that difficult because they don't seem to have shut down the couriers from Friday night. So couriers are still picking up and delivering in Ireland. But it's still possible that government could make that tighter again. Right now, couriers should be shipping food and essentials, not necessarily, and Ray, nothing against your pottery, but it's not what you'd call an urgent need, unless someone needs an urgent cup of coffee. But the fact is that a lot of products that we make and sell in Ireland are discretionary, and they're not necessarily urgent. That said, we're seeing amazing innovation coming through with businesses like the Irish Handmade Soap Company launching the sanitizing cream for hands. And so we are seeing quite a lot of business in soaps and things like that, which is great to see, because it just shows you how getting stuff closer to home can be very useful. We have a question in from Susan Zalouf. They have a piece in Paris that they need to return. Any thoughts on how to get it back? Susan, I tell you, that's going to be tough. Maybe we might deal with that offline. If you want to give us the details on it, we can try and give some advice. Normally, there might be some form of transit going back and forth, but I think at the moment it's going to be really slowed down.
Paris in particular is very much locked down. I was talking to one of the show organisers we deal with over there yesterday or Friday, and literally nothing is happening in Paris. The police are checking letters to check that you can even go as far as the shops. So as far as I'm aware, couriers are not, unless again it's something urgent, are not allowed to pick up and drop at the moment. But we can chat with you offline about that.
Great. And Ethel Kelly says that she does a lot of business in the USA. Small packages are getting through, but parcels are stopped. Yeah, and that's what you can expect, really. One of my big worries about this crisis is the extent to which the US is ill prepared for it, and it really is. It's hitting all areas of society over there, and I have a feeling that it could last longer there than even here in Ireland. So hopefully not, because we're so dependent on a strong US for the Irish craft sector. There's so many of you on this call and not on this call who do massive business over there. So if you can't get in touch with your buyers, I mean, I don't know what to say other than just keep trying, stay in touch. Instagram is a great way, I find, to get in touch with people, or Twitter. Oftentimes people will respond to Instagram quicker than an email. It's certainly for me, if I have to talk to anyone in the media, I never go through email. I always go through Instagram, send them a private message. They're back in 5 minutes. And now, so any other questions? So let me see, is that the last slide? Looks like it is. Yeah, so any other questions from anyone that you just have, or if you know, any programs or projects you're working on that you want to share with anyone? I think we've probably covered them all.
I suppose one of the things, just, and I know we touched on it earlier, but I suppose one of the, if we were to look for silver linings, one of the opportunities from the export point of view that we have at the moment is that level of research that we can do. Now, obviously, not every retailer is going to make it through the crisis either. So, you know, take everything with a word of caution. But there is a very real opportunity now to have a look at your planning and have a look at your research and see how robust your lists are. Have you really figured out what market is suited to you? How do you go about figuring that out? We have a lot of background information that we can give on that. We'll put some of it up online, but also we can talk you through it or connect you up with a mentor if this is something that you want to look into in more depth, because it would be a shame to miss that opportunity. It's not often in business that we have time to step back and look at things from another perspective. And one of the side effects of this, whether we like it or not, is that we do have that opportunity to take a look, take a step back, and really start to say, okay, this is where I'm at, this is where I want to be now. How and who do I need to connect with to get to that? What research do I need to do? What buyers do I need to understand? Where are they based? How can I do it? Is my product right? Are my price points right? Is how I'm approaching them the right way to do it? What shows would I need to do? All of those questions that come to light. So if this is an area that you have already got a handle on, great. But if it's something that you do want to chat through and figure out where to go next, just drop me an email or give me a call. We can talk you through it and send on information, and if necessary, sort out some mentoring on it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I saw this amazing thing online, as everyone is seeing a lot online these days. In 1665, Cambridge University, the only other time it had to close was in 1665, and it was because of the bubonic plague. And Isaac Newton, had to work from home along with all his colleagues, and he didn't really want to waste the time. So while he was off working at home, he invented calculus and developed the theory of gravity. So he kind of really took advantage of the time to be innovative and to think about new things. And I think, from my perspective, when it comes to international markets, now is the time to sort of sit back and think, am I being a busy fool here? Am I trying to do too much in too many places? Where should I be focusing on? And, we're happy to talk to you. It's very interesting when you look at the research that can be done, say, for example, in a territory or a country like the UK or in France, what you can do online to prepare yourself to understand the retailers that you'd like to sell to understand the retailers that feel like they'd understand your brand, that your brand could fit with. A lot of people don't put the time in. They just randomly go to a show and hope that somebody shows up. And I think this is a real opportunity to do research online, preparing yourself to understand those markets and those type of customers. And it doesn't matter if it's retail, it could be gallery. I mean, I know Susan Zalouf is on there, gallery-led work. Understanding the competitive landscape in the gallery market is really important as well. If you don't really understand where your brand fits, where your credentials fit on the international scale, I don't think you have a chance. So keeping the time now to focus on that would be very useful.
The other thing I think that's really important over this period is maintaining your visibility, because one of the things that undoubtedly people will expect is for smaller businesses to really struggle in this environment. In reality, for an awful lot of craft businesses, we're small. We can adapt and turn and I suppose face into challenges maybe a little bit easier than some of the bigger guys in a peculiar kind of way. But what's vital for us is to keep that profile and visibility up there so that people realize that the brand is still there, still vibrant, still going. I think it's important to keep the messages going out very positive in terms of, creativity, what you're doing during this period, what will be coming down the line when everything gets back up and running. It's important for your buyers, but it's even more important for your customers. And now an awful lot of people have more time to be on social media, to be looking for things. Now's the time to really remember what it is you want to say and how you want to say it and how you want to position the brand. And positivity will be the big thing. The great thing is nowadays, I don't know if any of you were on the webinar on Friday just about photography, filming and social media and how much you can do. There's an awful lot we can do ourselves and do really well. And there's an awful lot of information out there on it. Don't be afraid to use it, because it's twice as important almost for the export market as at home, because they really want to get the essence of what Irishness is and why an Irish product is exciting to them. So there's all sorts of opportunities around that can be, I suppose, planned into your activity over the next while. They're not going to reap rewards straight away, but they will be vital, absolutely vital over the next few months.
We just had a comment there from Angela Brady. It's a good idea, Angela. We actually have a project that we're in the throes of planning, which is not unlike what you're talking about there. Angela's talking about a series of 3-minute videos from makers. Here's what I just made. But yes, we have a project which we're working on right now, which we will be unveiling, I suppose, after there's going to be a couple of difficult weeks coming up in relation to COVID-19 in Ireland and Great Britain and the US. We're quite concerned really about it and the impact it's going to have, because it's not going to be an easy ride for us. But after that, sort of 2 to 3 weeks time, we feel that the opportunity will be there, and there'll be more openness for people to start thinking about buying and about thinking about you know, about those kind of things like videos and stuff like that. So now Gina Higgins wants to know, send us your email. Yeah, if you just go onto the DCCI website, you'll see the staff emails are all up there, and you'll be able to, oh, Nicola just did it there. That's perfect. Yeah, great. So lastly, before we just finish up here, I just want to say the series of webinars is going every Monday, every Wednesday and Friday at 3 p.m. It started last week. There were 2 last week. The one on Friday was on digital content, creating videos for your website. It was a massive, massive number of people on it. It was a really, really good webinar. Not as good as this one, I have to say. This one was the best. Nicola in particular, very good. We're trying to get the background done for Nicola, but her computer wouldn't correspond today. So
it gave me a nervous breakdown.
But anyway, we really do appreciate people taking the time. We really feel it's a time to share information and help each other. On Wednesday, we have Eddie Shanahan talking about retail. That'll be a really good one. So if you want to share information on Twitter about this, or on LinkedIn or Instagram, please do. And the link is up on the website. We really want to get a great movement going here and get everybody connected. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. And send us an email if there's anything else. Okay? All the best now. Bye.
Just a moment.
Thank you.
Bye.
I can only give hourly forecasts within 24 hours.
Well,